Knicks Podcast.
Yeah, what it do? Mobbing with the crew, nothing new. I thought you knew, thought I was falling off. Blessings keep on falling through. Oh, don't panic, dog. Bro, wait, boo, I can't lose. No, I can't.
What's good, y'all? I am Ja So Focused.
I'm French, the bro host, and we would like to welcome you to
The Knicks Podcast. The Knicks Podcast.
this is episode 51.
And this is a weekly podcast where we cover the most intriguing Knicks news of the week.
If you want to find us on our socials, you could check us out first on Twitter at the Knicks Take.
Then go to YouTube and check us out at Knicks Take Videos.
If you rather follow on Instagram, you'll be able to find us there at the Knicks Take.
Last, you could check us out on Facebook at Knicks Take Media. Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Happy 4th of July, French,
Sure.
which happens to be the day that we are recording, one day later than we originally intended. But for everybody who's off of work and some of y'all that are actually at work, happy 4th. Hope you guys enjoy your day. French, how's your week been?
Just been pretty locked in on free agency for the most part. I haven't really gotten into much. Just been going to work, staying on Twitter, responding to a bunch of trolls. You've probably been seeing me
I have.
call up a couple people D-Rodders, but that's just, you got to just stick up for the Knicks. After a while, we take too much slander on this social media platform, so I had to stand up for the Knicks fans. So outside of that, I ain't really do much. I have been trying to learn some new things to keep my mind, preoccupied outside of basketball and Knicks world. And I've been trying to learn some stuff about designing and video game development. I've been downloading some stuff on my laptop. Might as well make some use of it. So I've been trying to learn on that. But how's your week been? What you been doing?
I mean, pretty much the same as you. I've been working, and even while at work, I've been trying to stay, in tune with what's going on with free agency, see what's going on with the trades. Basically, just trying to make sure I don't miss anything when it comes to the New York Knicks, and that's pretty much it. I've not much else I've been doing outside of watching shows and stuff like that. So even now, like as we are recording currently, I'm still refreshing and still like trying to make sure nothing pops up that we could talk about, because even though a lot has happened, there's still so much that we are waiting on just to kind of have some sense of finality, because I'm pretty sure that this is not all that's going to be happening with free agency, and this is not all that's going to be happening with the New York Knicks in regards to trades, in regards to the roster. This is not all that there is going to be. I highly doubt that the way the roster is today is going to be the roster that shows up when it comes to the beginning of the regular season. Not that it's going to be drastically different, but I just don't see things just remaining the way that they are.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I see the trade market being dead until we're going to speak on it later, but until a certain trade happens, I feel like the trade market is pretty much dead. So we're going to get into it later. We might as well just get right into and start off with free agency. So yeah,
the Knicks started off free agency, and before I say what the first free agency move was, we all knew and were expecting for the first move in free agency to be the signing of one Jalen Brunson from the Dallas Mavericks. He was a free agent. Dallas Mavericks messed up, declining to extend him an offer before his contract ran out. And he became an unrestricted free agent, which means he can sign with any team, assuming that they give him the right money and assuming that he really wants to go there. Any team, and everybody was like, the Knicks are going to sign him. We were all, that was the first thing. I was like, all right, I bet you that's the first news that we hear from free agency, because Knicks have not made it a secret. But instead, to start free agency, as was also rumored, and something that I really was thinking was just a lie, the Knicks started off free agency with signing Isaiah Hartenstein. So, like, as I said, they were rumored, and there was news that they were aggressively pursuing him. French, why don't you talk about more about that and what we were seeing moving into free agency, and talk more about Isaiah Hartenstein as well.
Yeah, we knew that the Knicks were looking to shore up the backup center position, and the Knicks were rumored to have been converting Jericho Sims' contract from two-way to being a full standard NBA contract. And that just made the rumors very tricky to me, because it's like, why are we looking for backup if we have Jericho Sims? But if we are going to grab a center out of free agency, I am glad that it was Isaiah Hartenstein, because he brings something that's very different than Jericho Sims and Mitchell Robinson's play style. If you're not really familiar with who he is, Hartenstein was drafted in the 2017 second round to the Houston Rockets. He bounced from team to team, but he's been very consistent and solid. And he's been a resourceful backup big man in LA. He's been getting more minutes throughout the year. He's shown that he could hit a three. He's not really a stretch five, but he's a really good passer and decision maker out of the dribble handoff situations. He's also a big who knocks down shots from behind a three, like I said, but until he gets like a higher volume up, that's when you could really call him a stretch five. He hasn't shined a huge volume, but he averaged 46% from three from the season. And this is an area that no other big man on the Knicks roster can even say that they've attempted a three, except for Taj Gibson. And we can't really, we don't know what's going to happen with Taj Gibson's future so far or moving forward, because of the rumors that the Knicks could clear up even more cap space by releasing Taj Gibson and maybe re-signing him to a cheaper deal. But until it happens, we won't know for sure. So signing this type of player that is a good defender, he's a rim protector. He's not the dominant like paint protector like Mitch Robinson is, but he definitely is a serviceable. I don't know what's going on with my language today. He's serviceable as a big man. And if you have a big man who could bring different things to the offense than a Mitchell Robinson that always mixes it up for the other defense, they always have to adjust to what's going on when a player like Isaiah Hartenstein comes in. And Knicks fans believe that he is good enough to even be a starter over Mitch throughout the season. It wouldn't be a surprise to some to see him become a starting big man halfway through the season if Mitchell was probably injured or just not being consistent from the free throw line. He might get pulled early just to give Isaiah Hartenstein some minutes because he's a more reliable shooter, and the offense is probably going to open up a whole lot more with him being out there, being able to make plays from the top of the key. And yeah, it's going to be exciting to just see him in lineups with Obi Toppin and Jalen Brunson. That's what I'm really most looking forward to when I saw that this signing was official. And I think Brunson's going to be able to attack the paint a lot more with Mitch not being in the game. He's going to have more lob targets with Obi Toppin on a fast break. Like, it's just going to be a whole lot more options for this team. So that's how I felt about the signing. Will, how did you feel about it?
So before, when it was just a rumor that we were chasing after him, Isaiah Hartenstein, who is 24 years old, 7-foot center from Oregon, averaging 8 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and 2.4 assists per game in 18 minutes for the Los Angeles Clippers last season. I assumed that it was obviously not true, because think about it. Who we have on the roster? We have Mitchell Robinson. We have Jericho Sims. We have Taj Gibson. we don't really need another big man. But since we have signed him, I thought, well, last year we had all three of those guys and we had Nerlens Noel. So maybe they're thinking like, okay, let's just have that additional depth so that we're not searching for it in case guys get hurt down the line like Mitchell Robinson. So after we got him, it was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. And then, as you said, he's a different type of big man. And big man as in center, not big man as in power forward like Julius Randle or Obi Toppin, who can also be considered big men. He is different in that he does all of those things. These are all things: the dribble handoff, where you pass the ball to somebody, and you dribble, you pass the handoff, hand it off to somebody who's coming around the corner or whatever. He's better at that than anybody else. He's very good at the picks. He is very good at passing, especially from the perimeter. He's to the perimeter and from the perimeter. He's very good. He's better at it than Mitchell Robinson. He's better at making the reads than Mitchell Robinson. He's a good rim protector, right? Per 36 minutes, he is as good as there is anybody at the league. The only reason that you can say that he's not as good as Mitchell Robinson is because Mitchell Robinson has gotten his fouling under control, whereas Hartenstein has not. Hartenstein is more so a fouler still than anybody else that's on this Knicks roster as a center. So once I learned more about him and learned all of these things and saw the dimensions that he's able to bring and saw that he's still a good rim protector, saw that he can still rebound, 5 rebounds per game in 18 minutes is not terrible. Saw that he is able to actually knock down the three when he's wide open. You cannot leave him open behind the 3-point line. I was like, okay, you know what? I understand. Yeah, he's not a stretch 5 by any means, but he is still filling in all those gaps in the same way that Taj Gibson kind of does, while being 24 years old, while being 7 feet, while being a better rim protector, or at least as good a rim protector as Taj Gibson. I think this was a very good signing. I think this is a very good pickup for the Knicks, and it may come at the expense of a Jericho Sims. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting to see when this season starts, but I'm very intrigued by this signing and very interested to see how he contributes to this team during the regular season.
Yeah, swapping him when Nerlens Noel is
48 minutes of rim protection.
Exactly. And you're gonna have someone who's you're not gonna have to worry about him catching the ball. You're not gonna have to worry about him turning the ball over because he don't know what to do. He's gonna be able to make plays, be reliable, and still be able to shore up the defense. It's a player that he's a player that you're gonna love. What else we got into in free agency right after this signing?
After this signing, after me waiting for at least an hour, maybe even 2, I was like, is this not going to happen? Knicks signed Jalen Brunson after a lot of confusion. So Shams and everyone else reported almost immediately after Hartenstein. I shouldn't say almost immediately. It was a decent amount of time afterward. Everyone reported Knicks signing Brunson to a 4-year deal for $104 million. Until Adrian Wojnarowski, which is how I think you say his last name. Did I say that right?
Well, they didn't say 104. They said 110 before that.
Well, before
it was going to be $110 million 4-year deal.
Right.
And Woj said that he was just heading into the meeting.
Well, no, let me correct you. Before free agency, they were saying 110.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Shams reported 104 after free agency began.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And then Woj said Brunson is on his way to a meeting with the Knicks with a contract from Dallas for $106 million. To which I was like, so did we sign him or not? Like Like everybody was like, yeah, it's a done deal. Knicks got Brunson. He's coming for $104 million. We just need to figure out. And then Woj comes out the woodwork like, yeah, no, he ain't signed yet. He's coming with an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually it was announced, even from Woj, that Brunson would indeed be signing for 4 years, $104 million. And the going rumor is that because Woj is represented by CAA, the company that Leon Rose formerly headed up before he became president of the and general manager of the New York Knicks. He was trying to do the Knicks a little favor and like, yeah, we don't want these tampering charges. We don't want these charges that we were trying to sign Jalen Brunson before we were even supposed to be speaking to him for this
Like
free
every
agency
other team
period.
was.
Yes. It's just that the Knicks kind of were more out in the open about it than everybody else. So yeah, the Woj was just kind of like, yeah, no, let's put this out there. Somebody said Woj is putting this out there so the Knicks don't get a tampering charge. If that is the case, it did not go over very realistically. Let me also just say that there were some other news articles that the Knicks and Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat were going to meet up with Jalen Brunson on the first day of free agency so that he could make a decision. And within 24 hours before free agency started, both Dallas and Miami Heat were like, yeah, no, Jalen Brunson is going to the Knicks. So the Knicks are probably going to get hit with a tampering charge, which they probably will. I would not be surprised if they were hit with a tampering charge. And if they are, hopefully the repercussions are not any more than what anybody else who's violated tampering charges has received, which is a couple second round picks, and that's it.
You should be ashamed. Your mother is a lawyer. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And if he didn't sign on that dotted line until hours after free agency started, you can't prove tampering. Every team, if you want to go and say, oh, he was talking to them before free, you can say that about literally every single team, because at 6 o'clock on the dot, there was at least 15 contracts announced. Well, not 6 o'clock on the dot. At least 6 o'clock on the dot, it was like 5 contracts announced in that moment. And as the minutes went on, every contract was coming out. And it's like, how all these contracts get worked out in the minute of free agency beginning? So it's like, if you can't prove he was tampering, I don't think the Knicks are going to be open and leave a thing full of evidence showing them tampering and doing all this, because they already gave up a bunch of second round picks to trade these players away. I don't know if they want to give a second round pick away for tampering. So
props to you for the Alonzo training day reference, sir.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
First game will be this Friday, July 8th, against Golden State at 8 o'clock. They'll follow that up on Sunday, July 10th versus Chicago at 5 p.m. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because how we moving, we may record before that game, we may record after that game. We're not sure. We're not sure, but we will talk about one of those games, which is the July 8th game against Golden State. Is there anything you want to say about those games? Are you looking forward to that game, the Golden State game?
Are we doing predictions?
We probably should have talked about that before we started. Now, we're not doing predictions because I'm pretty sure me and you are just gonna say Knicks every game. So yeah, we're both gonna say the same thing. So there's no need for predictions against those teams. Did Golden State draft anybody that we should be thinking about?
Oh yeah. They drafted a few players. I don't know off the top of my head, but by the time I finish this sentence, it will have loaded it up on Google already. But Golden State definitely drafted some players that I like. I know that you liked a few of the players that they drafted too.
The first one to see is Patrick Baldwin Jr.
Yeah, Patrick Baldwin.
I think Ryan Rollins Gui Santos. Those were their picks for 2022. I think Patrick Baldwin is an interesting pickup for them. Patrick Baldwin was probably miscast as a number one option in college.
Mhm.
And that's why he fell so far, because it's like, oh, hey, you're not a number one option. So we ain't picking you in a lottery because we know that you can't handle that stress, even though he was pretty much the only guy that they had on his team. I would be surprised if the Knicks lost against the Golden State Warriors. I'm trying to think of who they picked up last year. I'm looking at the roster right now. Jonathan Kuminga is probably playing in the.
Yeah, Moses Moody.
I don't see him on the 2022 roster. Oh, he is. There he is. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be a good game. Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga leading off that Golden State Warriors team with Patrick Baldwin Jr. That probably is going to be pretty good. I would be surprised if the Knicks did not win that game, though.
Yeah. We have the talent to beat that team for sure. And we got a system in place. Dice Yoshimoto. I hope I said your name right. Come on, let's bring home the Summer League championship. We need
Sounds
something
right.
to cheer about. I'm looking at the Chicago Bulls roster. It doesn't really look too promising. I don't see any really notable players outside of Dalen Terry. There's a lot of G League players on this roster. So we should definitely pack them up. McCurr. He's a 2K legend.
2-0.
2-0. That's my pick.
2-0. All right. Now let's get into potential future moves from the New York Knicks. First question that I had: will there be any more trades to clear up room for Quentin Grimes, Cam Reddish, and Obi Toppin? Reason I asked that, going by last season alone, not saying that this is what the starting lineup is going to be. Starting lineup is probably going to be Jalen Brunson, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson.
There's only 3 names that I feel like are solidified in that lineup.
4. Who are the 3 names? And I'll tell you the 4th. Go ahead.
Brunson, RJ, Mitch.
Julius Randle. If Derrick Rose and Evan Fournier, because I think that the Knicks are working on something to get those guys out, but I don't think it's going to happen. If those 2 names are still on this roster, the bench will be Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, and Isaiah Hartenstein. Any disagreements?
I would much rather see Fournier on the bench with Derrick Rose.
Me too.
And Quentin Grimes in the starting 5.
Me too.
But if that's not what it is, then I see this as the lineup off the bench. Wait, who was the 3?
Your 3?
No, who was playing the small forward in your lineup?
Small forward in the starting lineup was RJ Barrett. In
the bench.
The backup, it was Quentin Grimes.
Yeah. I wouldn't change anything.
So
I know Cam Reddish isn't going to be in the lineup. If that's
that's why. So that's why the question is: will there be any more trades to clear up room for Quentin Grimes, Cam, and Obi? Obi is going to be following up behind Julius Randle, which means that he's probably going to get the same amount of minutes as long as Julius Randle is on this team, and he needs to play more minutes. And it's probably not going to be at the 5. Quentin Grimes, he's probably going to get enough minutes. I don't know. I would love to see him start, just like you would, but we will not know for sure that that's going to happen. If he starts, he's going to get significant minutes over Evan Fournier. Cam Reddish, as the team is currently constructed, we don't anticipate him to get any minutes unless a trade happens. Do you see a trade happening? Do you see the Knicks possibly turning this Jalen Brunson acquisition into a signing trade?
I hope not, because I don't want to trade Fournier away just to clear up space. I mean, not space, just to clear up room for a rotation spot for Quentin Grimes. I feel like Fournier brought shooting to the Knicks that we desperately needed last year. I know Quentin Grimes is going to be able to replace that, but we still going to need another shooter on the team. I don't know if Cam Reddish is going to be here because I keep hearing his name in trade rumors, and they're probably going to move Cam Reddish in the next deal that we make. Just from what it seems like so far. But in this instance that we do trade away Fournier, I don't know if Cam Reddish is going to be able to replace the shooting that he had last season, which broke the Knicks record. But I don't know. If there's a trade that's going to come, I feel like Cam Reddish is probably going to be in it because I feel like it's going to be a package trade. And they said that Jalen Brunson isn't going to be like the savior for the Knicks. He's not. They don't view him that way. We keep hearing Ian Begley reports that there's another trade in the works. They developed assets to go and use them for a trade. So we're still waiting for that. It might not happen before the season starts. It might happen later on in the season. But I don't really see Cam Reddish being a Knick or being in the Knicks rotation, at least for the short term. I don't see it.
So the question I had for you is, what if we got back Frank Ntilikina in the deal?
I didn't hear you say that.
No, that's the question I have for you.
Oh.
What if I have the NBA trade machine loaded up to see if it'll work, but it's not. Let me see.
I'm not gonna lie, that would make me upset. I would be upset.
Oh, why would you be upset?
Why trade for someone you could have kept a year ago?
Well, we're not trading for Frank Ntilikina. What it would be, the only reason to do a sign and trade would be for Dallas to not lose Jalen Brunson for nothing. So it wouldn't just be us getting Frank Ntilikina back. We would probably be giving a second round or two to Dallas, and they would get Evan Fournier, and we would get Jalen Brunson because that would be more beneficial to the team. No, you don't like it?
Okay, he's not gonna play anyway. It's like you traded for a player that you didn't play, and you don't have any plans to play. You're just trading him just to trade him, and
I mean,
you could have kept him.
Frank Ntilikina Frank Ntilikina was obviously very loved by this Knicks team, as noted by when he played against the Knicks in the season, and all of the Knicks were all surrounding him and giving him hugs and stuff like that. He's obviously beloved. He obviously is an NBA player, maybe just a rotation player, but he can fill in a role, assuming Cam Reddish gets hurt. If Evan Fournier goes out in trade, that would be the reason for it.
Yeah, but everything you just said applies to Kevin Knox too.
Okay. I was about to say some foul about Kevin Knox, but I'm not going to do it. It's a Knick, always a Knick. Kevin Knox. Salute,
I don't think
brother.
they're going to do that.
All right. So you don't think there's going to be any more trades to clear up room for Cam Reddish, specifically Quentin Grimes and Obi Toppin?
Well, I don't think. Well, this is a perfect opportunity to speak on what I addressed in the very beginning of the podcast, where because Kevin Durant requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh, you spoiled
this stuff. Has basically frozen. Oh, I didn't see that here. My fault. I was gonna say, all right, this is the perfect opportunity, but I didn't see that there. My bad. But since I already said it, I don't see nothing happening until Kevin Durant is relocated. And once that happens, it's like, do you really even have an opportunity to discuss with enough teams what type of trades you can do? Because you don't even understand what type of trade market is going to look like. I feel like a Kevin Durant type of trade is going to be a 3-team trade where there's a lot of pieces moving just to get him where he wants to go. And how can you negotiate with any team until you understand what that team even has? And every team in the NBA is looking to get Kevin Durant. So it's like, it's just nuts. But I ain't mean to spoil it. Since we already addressed it, let's just talk about it now.
Well, before we get into outside of the Knicks, the other thing that I want to talk about, Knicks are reportedly interested in getting a contract extension with RJ Barrett done before the season begins. And I'm wondering if they will get it done. I'm wondering if they're going to wait for the regular season. I'm wondering if they're, much like the Mitchell Robinson conundrum last season, I'm wondering if both the Knicks and RJ Barrett are just too far apart to get anything done because, yeah, I'm pretty sure RJ is probably looking for a max extension, and I don't think the Knicks are looking to get him the max extension, but they will probably sign him for something closer to it. How do you feel about that?
Well, I've been hearing I haven't been hearing. I've been seeing Ian Begley and all these other reporters say that there's been mutual interest to get a deal done. And if we're going based on like Knicks history, I believe last year when Julius Randle signed his extension, it came after every move was done for the offseason, right?
Yep.
Do you remember that? Yeah, that's what I'm pretty much expecting this offseason. Once we're pretty much done and we're ready to go into the season with the roster that we have, I think that's when they get the extension done. And if it goes into the season, that's going to cause me a little worry because, yeah, maybe RJ does want his max extension, but I don't think RJ really cares much about getting the max. I think he's willing to talk with the Knicks and they can negotiate and just get to a common ground. And I'm really not concerned about it because I know RJ's here for it. He knows what he's here for. He wants to be in New York. He don't really care too much about that. He just want to get this shit taken care of and return on a budget friendly team deal. That's what I assume.
So, according to Fred Katz, Jalen Brunson isn't the only guy who could get a big deal from the Knicks. When free agency begins, RJ Barrett is eligible for an extension. His max is $185 million over 4 years. Which, when I read that, I'm like, oh, only $185 million? $32 million starting salary? That's not bad. I have already stated somewhere on the interwebs, RJ Barrett is not guaranteed to make more money than Jalen Brunson. Thinking about it, maybe he will. Maybe he will have a starting. Maybe he will also have a descending contract. Which, if he does have a descending contract, it would probably start off higher than Jalen Brunson's. I'm not sure yet. I'm also not sure about giving RJ Barrett $32 million when he hasn't played consistently well enough for a $32 million contract or $32 million starting salary for a contract. I'm really interested to see what the Knicks do. I want RJ Barrett to be a Knick for his entire career, much like I wanted Carmelo Anthony to finish his career as a Knick. That's how I feel about RJ Barrett. But I don't know. I'm gonna step on a little bit on what you're gonna talk about, French, but elsewhere in the NBA, John Morant, Zion Williamson, Darius Garland all agreed on a 5-year rookie max extension.
Mm-hmm.
They're all going to make more than that $185 million. I'm pretty sure. Maybe Darius Garland won't, but they all got the max, and it was not even a question. Like, They all earned it.
And if you don't remember, Zion went number 1 in RJ's draft class. Ja Morant number 2, and Darius Garland went 4, right beneath RJ Barrett.
And Darius Garland's extension was 5 years, $231 million. So, well, I'm seeing two different numbers. 193 that could be worth as much as 231, which if Darius Garland continues to improve his game, it could potentially end up being 231 million. 193 million is still higher than the number I stated for RJ Barrett. So already, if that what Fred Katz has put out there, if that's the number that the Knicks end up agreeing to, that's already less than the two people who got drafted ahead of him and the one person that got drafted behind him. And I still think that may be too rich for their blood, considering what RJ Barrett has done.
Well, RJ can't get that mainly because all three of those players are all-stars.
Yep.
So they were eligible for another type of rookie max extension.
Correct.
And yeah, so.
But then what I'm saying is,
RJ, even outside of the all-star, I was saying all three of those guys also led their teams to respectability in a fashion that RJ still hasn't done. So I think his contract is definitely going to be different than theirs.
Well, as you indicated, just off of accomplishments and things that have been done, he cannot make as much as those three players. But even when you set that aside, without comparing them, is RJ Barrett worth the rookie max? I wouldn't be mad if they gave it to him, but I wouldn't be mad if they didn't give it to him, if you understand. Like, I get it. Like, he's been one of the more inefficient players since he's been in the league. And he's been inefficient in a way that, I'm not mad at. It's him getting his game better, but he's not there yet. He's not he's the guy that we are saying, yo, that's the guy, but he hasn't made that play apparent on the court yet. We just know that it's going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. Are we going to give him money saying, yeah, it's going to happen, and then it maybe never does? I don't know if this front office is comfortable with doing that. So, all right, now I'm going to cede to you, sir.
So you announced those three contracts. The next contract that really took the air out the room anyway, if you were really paying attention, Nikola Jokic, league MVP, signs the largest contract in NBA history, the 5-year extension from the Denver Nuggets worth $264 million. Yeah. He's going to be a billionaire before his career is over. Utah. Well, what's your reaction to that first before I move on to Utah?
I mean, I already posted on Twitter. I was like, I don't think enough people are talking about that. Yeah. $264 million. $250 million in 5 years. Like a word? Like, Nikola Jokic is really, really good. One of the best players, if not the best player in the NBA.
Only 27 years old.
Only 27 years old. But it's still an argument. Do you think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA?
It's an argument. I think
you can make the argument
with the best players in the NBA.
Right. You can make the argument. But he's right now undisputedly the richest NBA player, by the end of this season, he'll be the richest NBA player in the league. And I'm not mad at it. It's well earned. It's well deserved. It's a lot of money. I broke it down. I was like, how much is that per year? How much is that? Like, how much is $264 million a year? I think that's more than 50. Yes, it is. It is more than $50 million a season. And I was like, that is too much money. That is too much.
60 million.
Too much money. That's a lot of money. 60 million. Yeah, I know.
Last year is $61.4 million. The first year is 46.
That is a lot of money.
That's nuts.
For 1 year, 60 mil. Like, I saw that, I instantly said to everybody, yo, put your kids in basketball. If you think your kid's gonna be more than 6 feet, put him in basketball. Like that. You just have to.
6 feet. Look at Jalen Brunson. He ain't 6 feet.
He is 6
feet.
feet.
He's listed at 6 feet. Kemba Walker, you think he's 6'1"?
He's 5'11".
We saw him in person. He ain't 6'1".
He's 5'11" and 2/4.
Let me see. Hold on. Kemba, he probably listed at 6'2". Kemba Walker height. 6 feet tall. He is not no 6 feet tall. I'm taller than Kemba. If not the same height. But still.
Listen.
That's crazy.
That all I want to say is get your kids into basketball. Because if they I'm not saying that should be number one. Obviously, you need to get to school and all that stuff, but if there's any chance that they can make it in the NBA, that is a lot of money. Not even you don't even have to be Nikola Jokic. Like Mitchell Robinson was a second-round draft pick, and he was a millionaire when he first started. When the top guy goes up, the bottom guy goes up. Just saying. All right, what's next, French?
Next, Utah Jazz had the trade that broke everything because it was just outrageous to everyone who heard it. Even if you're not a fan of basketball, it's like, Rudy Gobert got traded for what? The Utah Jazz traded Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Leandro Bolmaro, who I believe was their first-round pick last year, right?
I believe so, yes. Either first or second round, but he was a pick.
Jared Vanderbilt, Walker Kessler, who was the 22nd pick of this last year's draft, and on top of that, 4 first-round picks, which I believe were all unprotected, right? Or 3 were unprotected?
At least 3 were unprotected. I don't remember the protections, but either way, it's a lot of picks on top of all of the players that you just sent.
And these ain't scrubs neither. Patrick Beverley was one of the best defenders in the NBA this year.
Malik Beasley is not a scrub.
And Rudy Gobert is Defensive Player of the Year he's in the conversation every year. I get it.
Drive and kick. Brunson. Hezzy. Brunson.
But he's a 7-foot center who's 30 years old who can't score on his own.
That's fine, though. You know why?
Why?
Because he's going to be playing next to Karl Anthony Towns, who is 6'11" and can do all the scoring. Is one of the most talented offensive big men in the league. So when you I understand what you're saying, but Minnesota did this for a reason. They said, "Oh, y'all giving up Rudy Gobert? We could pair one of the most gifted offensive players over 6'10" with one of the most gifted defensive players over 6'11" on the same starting lineup. It don't matter for how long. Karl Anthony Towns is 20. Karl Anthony Towns is 26 years old. Rudy Gobert is 30 years old. Rudy Gobert is not like 35, 36, right? He doesn't have the injury history of an Anthony Davis. Like,
yeah.
Well, if you make a trade,
God forbid, let's just say he hasn't had that. He hasn't had to worry about that up until this point.
Listen, when you make these trades, you don't make these trades about what could happen. You make these trades about what you've seen so far. And yeah, Rudy Gobert is a one-man defense by himself. Like, he was Utah Jazz's entire defense. You put him, if you just have one or two defenders, because that Utah Jazz defense outside of Rudy Gobert was absolutely basura. If you put him next to just one or two other defenders in that starting lineup, they're going to do better than the Utah Jazz this year. And Karl-Anthony Towns used to be considered a defender before he came to the league. If he can figure that out, great. And I really am looking forward to just see what the Minnesota Timberwolves do this year. I'm really looking forward to see how well they play with Rudy Gobert in that starting lineup. They did give up a lot of assets for him, but I think that I do think that considering the team that they have, I think it's worth it because Anthony Edwards is still improving. He didn't get drafted that long ago. Like, he's not in his prime. He could be a star player. He could be an all-star. And if he's an all-star and you put him next to Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, whoo, man, that's a team. That's a team you got to look out for. That's a team you got to look out for. That's all I'm saying. I understand why they did it. You got Rudy Gobert early on the hopes that Anthony Edwards continues to get better. And if he continues to get better, that is a team that could make it to the finals. No? You disagree? All right, cool.
So, I personally just feel like that's way too many assets to give up for Rudy Gobert. The draft picks alone might have gotten the job done. The players alone, I felt like should have gotten the job done with maybe just an attachment of maybe a pick or so. But when you start adding 3 unprotected first-round picks for players who are ready to play now, like a Patrick Beverley, a rookie in this last draft, that's essentially giving away 4 unprotected first-round picks and 1 protected one. But that's just a lot to give up for a player who's possibly going to be seeing the decline of his career really soon. Now that he's hit the 30-point mark, we know NBA centers normally start to go downhill around that age. The only one that I see who still has like a huge impact on the defense is Dwight Howard. He's 36 years old. JaVale McGee, he's 34 years old. I'm not certain that I would see that same presence from Rudy Gobert years down the line because he's already been getting cooked by guards in the NBA right now in his prime. And he's only going to get slower with time. And I don't see like fear. He doesn't strike fear into players around the league. Nobody around the league really talks like Rudy Gobert is like that defensively. They always attacking him, trying to dunk on him.
If I'm defensive player of the year, I'm not guarding Russell Neal. I'm guarding Mike Conley. I'm guarding Donovan Mitchell. I'm guarding Bogdanovich. You know, you got Rudy Gobert out there guarding Vanderbilt. You know, and you talking about he's a defensive player of the year. So whatever.
Wow, they got Rudy Gobert. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling them like, bro, he's the same as anybody else, bro. Like,
yeah, the people in the media talk about Rudy Gobert. I understand he does have a huge impact defensively on the team, but that matters when you going against these players around the league and they don't have no fear in you. And to give up this huge haul for Rudy Gobert, I just didn't feel like that should have been what they were targeting. I felt like you could have easily gotten better defensively as a unit by trading half of this stuff. I don't feel like just adding defense to Anthony Edwards and Karl Towns is going to make them even one of the top teams in the West. And if you're going to give up a package like that, that's what you better be getting in return, because now you're handicapped. You don't have no first round picks to trade moving forward. You don't have no young talent after this year who's going to be developing. All you have is what you traded everything for and what you have had before that. Anthony Edwards is legit. I give you that. Karl Towns still has not shown up in the playoffs where you can say that he's going to be reliable to count on for years to come. I'm not giving up all these assets for a player who's only going to be able to provide the service that he has been providing, possibly for a few more seasons. That's just me. I'm pretty sure you can hear me now, right?
Correct.
All right. So what's your response?
I hear you, but who are they gonna give up those assets for? To
Half
come
of
to
that,
to come to Minnesota and
DeJounte Murray.
eh,
That's it right there.
well, DeJounte Murray already got traded to the Hawks, so.
But what I'm saying is they were sitting on these assets when that trade was announced, and they didn't go toward that route. They could have traded just these 4 first-round picks and probably D'Angelo Russell and got DeJounte Murray and would have been better on the defensive end.
Let me say that I agree with you. That would have probably been better for Minnesota's future to trade for DeJounte Murray and and come to the playoffs as a much better defensive team. It's not that much more negligible to me. Like, it's not that much different. Like, it's not. DeJounte Murray wasn't the San Antonio Spurs' entire defense the way that Rudy Gobert was the Utah Jazz's entire defense. So while DeJounte Murray is a very, very, very good defender, there's nobody in the league who is a multiple time defensive player of the year candidate the way that he is. Like, Rudy Gobert is just really that good on defense. He's not good on the perimeter, granted, but that gets exposed when you have poor perimeter defenders on your team. And that's why Utah never went anywhere further than the second round. I always felt like Rudy Gobert wasn't the problem, although everybody made it seem like he was. But anyway, I feel like we're going a little bit too long on this whole Utah Jazz Rudy Gobert situation.
Yeah, because I'm already thinking of rebuttals of what you just said.
I know, and we could go on all day about this, but at the end of the day, like, I understand why Minnesota did it. Did they need to do it? I think we can stand on common ground and say they didn't need to do it. But I understand why they did, and I do think that this trade makes them a better team today. Whether it handicap their future, we will see. All right, what's next?
Next, we spoke on it earlier. I kind of spoiled it for the podcast, but it's okay. We probably already knew going into this podcast anyway. Kevin Durant.
Did we skip the Boston Celtics trade?
Oh, yes, we did. Yes, I did. The Boston Celtics traded for Malcolm Brogdon, and signed Danilo Gallinari. What's your reaction to that?
Boston Celtics get better. I didn't see anybody that went out in the trade for Malcolm Brogdon that the Boston Celtics absolutely 100% needed. And Danilo Gallinari was a rotation player when the Atlanta Hawks were in the playoffs. And he was a significant player, and he got significant minutes. Once a Knick, always a Knick, Danilo Gallinari. Knick draftee Danilo Gallinari. Boston Celtics are going to be a tough out next season. I think that Malcolm Brogdon, he didn't play most of this season, which means that he's probably going to play a significant portion of next season. At the very least, they're going to wait for him to be good physically so that he can get playoff minutes so that they can go the distance. And they have a one up on Golden State because Golden State are losing players that were vital to Gary Payton II, vital to them making it to the finals. They're losing players, and Boston Celtics are gaining players. So they have to be considered a finals contender next season. Very good offseason for the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, if these two players remain healthy, then yeah, I can see this being an easy route back to the NBA Finals for the Boston Celtics because they didn't really give up anybody that was in the rotation for Malcolm Brogdon, and they just signed Gallinari straight out. So I think these guys are going to definitely step up big in terms of like if there's an injury on the Boston Celtics roster that you probably are going to be concerned about, but now you remember that you have Malcolm Brogdon here, who's most likely going to be the sixth man, and you can depend on him to step up even more. Gallinari, like you said, was in the final. I mean, in the conference finals with the Hawks. He's been on the Hawks for basically the last few seasons, being a serviceable veteran on a playoff team. So he's definitely going to have an impact on the Celtics roster. The Celtics only really traded out Daniel Tice, Aaron Nesmith, and I can't remember the last player, but Daniel Tice is looking like he's not even a part of the rotation anymore. I like him, but he's not really even playing for Boston. So they traded away guys that aren't playing for guys who are going to bring something significant toward the roster that they didn't have before. So we did see a lot of boneheaded plays from Marcus Smart throughout the playoffs. I feel like with Malcolm Brogdon, you have a lot more stability coming from the point guard position in the crunch time minutes, and you can depend on him. You see Milwaukee missed him since he's been gone, but they had to replace him with a Drew Holiday, and then they won a championship right after. I think Malcolm Brogdon, if he's healthy, can have a big impact on the Celtics roster. The next trade or the next news to come out,
I'm not going to be here.
it seems like I couldn't wait to get it out. Kevin Durant, again,
I'm not going to be here.
requested a trade.
My pussy hurt.
From the Brooklyn Nets. Remember, on the same day that he announced that he was going to the Nets was the same day that he announced that he was going to request a trade 2 years down the, or was it, how long was it? 3 years down the line?
Doesn't even matter, bro. It doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Because
My pussy hurt.
Brooklyn, as usual, is trash, and they tried to do their best to be the best team in New York. They picked up some of the best players. They got 3 of the best players in the league and couldn't get anywhere further than the second round. And once again, this is a Knick town, right? They said, New York's the city's under new management.
Bing bong.
Yeah. Guess what, player? Nah, you guys are trash. Kyrie's leaving. James Harden already requested a trade for Ben Simmons, who still has not suited up and played a single game for you. And now Kevin Durant is asking for a trade directly from the owner. You guys are out of here. Now, I do reserve the right to be like, hey, you guys could still be better next season because y'all could get a pretty fair return for Kevin Durant. And Kyrie Irving has already agreed to re-sign for at least the season. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks got more wins than y'all this year too. Let's be honest. Like we were just in the playoffs. We were just a top 4 seed last season, the season before this one. If you guys don't get your ish together, we could be better than y'all this year too. Like, who knows if Ben Simmons is going to suit up for y'all? Who knows if Ben Simmons is going to show up the way that he did in the playoffs and not give you anything? Who knows what's going to happen? And just for that reason, with you guys having absolutely 0 picks moving forward, because Houston got them all, woo! The future is looking bright for us because we got like 11 of them Johns over the next 7 years. 11 first rounders, I should say. 22 complete total picks over the next 7 years. I'm just saying, I'm Brooklyn. Y'all was talking trash. A couple of my homeboys. I know y'all probably not listening because y'all don't want to hear this. But
I mean, that's KD. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
yeah, yeah. All right. I just had to get that off my chest. That's why I saved. That's why that one was saved for last. That was saved for last. You want to talk about? You got anything else you want to say about Brooklyn, or you want to move on?
Hey, yeah, I wanted to. Sorry, Ma. Hold on, let me meet you, Ma, so that you don't hear me. Mommy, our mother's the producer of this show. I want to curse really badly, but I'm pretty sure she's still in here listening. So actually, just because Brooklyn wanted our dream so bad.
What is you doing?
What? No, you right. I was dick riding.
That's what I'm saying, bro. You gotta calm down with that shit.
Yeah, my fault.
Yeah.
I'm so happy this happened to you. I ain't gonna curse. I'm so happy this happened to you. Y'all wanted to D-Rod the dream, and now you get what you asked for. You traded all the picks away for James Harden, right? How'd that work out for you? Didn't work out too well, right? You got to trade that for Ben Simmons. He's the starting point guard next year, ain't he? Oh, man. You could trade Kyrie for Westbrook. No, you can't, because Ben Simmons can't shoot. But I love Ben Simmons. I don't want to trash Ben Simmons, but you just joined the worst organization to be a part of. If you remember, not too long ago, they was at the bottom of the league with no picks, and they headed right back to there. It's just destiny, you know what I'm saying? Some teams just deserve to be at the bottom because they want to bandwagon other teams' destiny, keep recycling the same philosophy. KG, Paul Pierce, all over again. They keep picking up former Knicks. Dallas is keep picking up former Knicks. You've seen Luka in the Knicks jersey as a kid. He gonna be the next Brunson. Better be careful. We traded you KP. I know he's seen that. He pissed now. He gone. He in Washington. Luka ain't got no help. We keep taking all the second options away. What he gonna do?
I don't got an answer for that.
You see KD, Kyrie going out of Brooklyn. Ain't no answers. You're going to have to just come to the Mecca, come and see what's going on, see what is bubbling here in the city, going on in the garden, going crazy. And we just going to leave it at that, man. KD's on his way up out of New York. He was never built to be here. Transplant coming to New York, looking for Whole Foods in the Bronx. Like, come on, bro. What you doing? You don't know what's going on over here. You over here transplanting. You over here trying to look for property, looking for a new home, coming here talking about the Nets is going to run New York. How's that working out now for you? You went to Hot 97. You thought you were going to have all the new millennial fans come to the games. It's been crickets in there for 3 years. You had to beg hard to get on social media to beg fans to come out to the games. All right, let's just get off the Nets because they bandwagon the dream. They didn't know what to do with it, and that's all crumbling apart. You should have just let us have the plays that we wanted. Now look at you.
And you brought up something that I don't even think we've discussed. We still have Dallas's first round pick for next year. I do believe that it is not protected, which means that they are one Luka Doncic injury away, which I'm not hoping for a Luka Doncic injury. Don't twist my words. But they're one Luka Doncic injury since their second best player is now a Knick from being a lottery team, or at the very least a very good pick outside of the lottery, in a very good draft. Oh, woo! This is 4D chess right here. Knicks is really whoo, and nobody's giving us the praises. But you know what? If Dallas does not play well this season and they're not in the playoffs, or if they get a first round exit, they're bottom seed 6, 7, 8. We're gonna hear the praisings then, because it's like, hey, you know what? Knicks actually that was a swindle, taking one of their best players and knowing that they could not replace him because they're so far into the luxury tax they can't sign anybody.
4D chess.
That, well, you know what? Let's go on to the next news. What's the last thing we got to talk about on the docket?
Summer League began a couple days ago, right? So far, Keegan Murray has shown out for the Kings, Sacramento Kings squad. He dropped 28 in his first game. I don't know if they won. They played Golden State, but he's basically the highlight of the Sacramento Kings so far. He averaged 25 points in college, so we're gonna see what he do in the summer league. You watched that game?
Nope, because I don't care about Keegan Murray. But I did see it on the Twitter afterward, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, well, did anybody pick the head of him play? And I don't think any of them did. So it's summer league, so it was 26 points. Doesn't really, but it doesn't really matter because it only really matters if Jaden Ivey comes out and he looks like he can't figure it out. If Jaden Ivey plays in the first game of summer league, first couple games, we'll give him a 1 game out. If in the first 2 games, he's looking like trash, that's when it really matters because it means the Sacramento Kings actually made a smart choice.
It's just still too early. I don't know. Summer league.
I mean,
games,
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it is too early. But in summer league, if you can't in your first couple games, you looking like you not ready for the competition that's out there. That means that you're probably not ready for the competition in the NBA. So, but Jaden Ivey's going to play in a couple of days, so we'll see. We'll be able to compare. Paolo is going to play. We'll be able to compare. Jabari's going to play. We're going to be able to compare. And that 26 points is either going to be like, oh, he's really good, or it's going to be like, it's nothing special. It's a summer league. So,
I don't know. Cade was struggling in last year's summer league, and we see what he did in the NBA. I think you got to give a player a
Cade
good
was also
couple months before you judge how he went into the draft.
Cade was also struggling to begin the season too, though. Let's not let's. It wasn't just summer league; it moved into the season, and it took a lot of games for him to figure it out. We still don't know what Cade is going to be in the league, so you're right. It's not important, but at the same time, it kind of is important because we knew what LeBron was his first season.
That's
the
LeBron,
whole season.
No, that's LeBron.
Right. We knew what Carmelo was his first season. Right. We knew what Dwayne Wade was his first season.
Did we know what Jimmy Butler was his first season?
No, but Jimmy Butler was not picked as high as those guys.
That is true.
Right.
You're right.
So, and that's all I'm saying. When you get picked that high, the expectation is that you are going to play a certain way, and you're gonna contribute that first season. Like you may not play as good as you're going to play in your career, but you are going to play. You are going to show that you are at least an NBA starter quality player, and Cade did not show that the first quarter of the season. This past season, Keegan Murray might be showing that with his 26-point play in the summer league. We will keep watching and see, but if all the guys that got picked around him do the same thing, it's not really going to mean much. And then we're going to have to go to the regular season to kind of really adjust our viewpoints on these players. French, you got anything that you want to plug?
Nothing else for me.
Copy that. I had to spend some time that I would have otherwise used for sleep to finish watching Stranger Things last couple of episodes, and I'm looking forward to next season. Let me just say that. The next and final season, season 5.
Oh, it's another season coming?
Correct. There is another season coming.
I just finished season 3 today. Next week, I'm probably going to be done with season 4. So
season 3 was mid.
Yeah, it took
although
me a long time to get through it.
I will say that I did today. I was looking at some people reviewing Stranger Things, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, I loved season 1 through 3. I didn't like this last season." I am a person who loved season 1, thought seasons 2 and 3 kind of. I don't remember which season, but one of those seasons I felt was like, we didn't need this season. Either season 2 or season 3. The other one was, I thought, clearly not as good as season 1. And this season 4, I still maintain that I think that it was the best season out of all of the seasons. Maybe I'm gassing it. Maybe it's because I haven't seen Stranger Things in a couple of years now, and like it's like, oh, I'm looking forward to it. I just feel like the stakes were higher in this season than they were in any season since season 1.
I stopped watching halfway through season 3. Right when they got, well, I don't want to spoil nothing.
How did you like season 2?
Like season 5. Season 2 was good. My favorite season was season 1.
Right.
It honestly should have ended after season 1, like how I felt when I stopped watching the show. I'm actually good with continuing because it is still stories to be like developed after this point. So I do understand why there's a season 4. I don't know what's happening in season 4, so I'm going to go into it next. But season 2, I enjoyed more than season 3 for sure.
Season 4 definitely is more about the overall story arc, more so than seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah, that's what I really want to see. That's what I was going into season 2 for.
Right. And if you're like me and apparently French, if like you would be more invested in Stranger Things because of you want to know how did this all start? Why, where did this come from?
Right.
Who actually is the main villain? Right. If you're more interested in those things, you're going to love season 4 because season 4 gets into all of that. And that's all I'm going to say without spoiling anything. Yeah. I've also been watching My Hero Academia, which is anime.
Did you watch Katara Lives Alone yet?
I did not.
Watch it today. Watch it with the kids today.
I probably will not have a chance to
enjoy it.
I'm sure I will. I have a lot of there's a lot of anime and a lot of manga like that I've been like, ooh, yeah.
But it's nothing like the anime that you watch. It's something that you go watch with the kids. You go watch it with mommy, and
I'm sure
enjoy it. It's definitely
sure
chill with. I've mostly just been watching. I've been trying to get Jaya, and shout out to Jaya, my girl. I love you. I've been trying to get her. I've been trying to get her into The Wire desperately. We got through season 1. We're like inching through season 2.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard, but like I'm trying to tell her there's a huge payoff. You got to get through the mud, but you never.
I never made it. I never made it through season 2. I have to.
Wait, you told me this before?
Maybe.
What? Nah, y'all both wild, and you got to get through season 2 too. Matter of fact, next thing you watch The Wire. Don't watch nothing else, please. Please get through season 2, and then you're gonna be like, all right, I see why this show is. And then season 3 gonna get you into it. Season 4, you're gonna be caught up.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna understand. Just make it easier for me to get Jaya into it, please. It's a huge payoff.
Yeah, I started watching season 2. I kept falling asleep. I said, I'll come back to it completely. And then I never did. So, but I will. I've heard enough praises for The Wire in its entirety to know that I do have to get through season 2, but I just never did. There's an article here. I don't know how accurate it is. I'm not going to bring it up, but we'll probably talk about it next episode because this is
just cut it out.
To me. It has to do with the title of the article from sportstalkatl.com, which automatically sounds sketchy. Yeah. The title of the article is Adding Salt to the Wound, Knicks Unknowingly Facilitated Hawks Trade for DeJounte Murray. I'm going to read that article at some point and see how accurate that is. Anyway, all right. You got nothing else you want to say, French? I got nothing else I want to say. Once again, y'all, We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Make sure y'all send us some likes, some subscribes. Make sure you tell your friends about us. If you got any commentary, any suggestions for us, help us get better, please send that to us.
And if you ain't been checking out the YouTube, you gotta go check it out. There's been some new updates going on in there. You gotta stay in tune. The views gotta get back up there.
Super facts. Anyway, thank you for listening to
The Knicks Take Pod. The Knicks Take Pod. The Knicks Take Pod. The Knicks Take Podcast.
Peace.
That intro music was Broadway Boo by Gotti B, formerly known as Bugatti Blade. You can find us on Twitter at The Knicks Take. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.